Hello, I'm Tim Reynolds and welcome to a special Christmas edition of the Marriage Challenge podcast, brought to you each month by Care for the Family. As the festive season is upon us, I'm delighted to be joined today by Rob and Diane Parsons. They'll be sharing some of their favourite Christmas moments with us over the course of their 43-year marriage. Rob and Diane live in Cardiff. They have 2 grown-up children and 5 grandchildren. They've spoken to over 1 million people across the globe on family issues since setting up Care for the Family together in 1988. Rob and Di, it's such a joy to have you with us.
Great to be with you.
It's great to be. I can't believe we're talking about Christmas.
Where's
this year gone?
So here is the first question. Christmas presents for each other. How are you getting on?
Oh, well, I'm getting on much better, Dan, because I plan... No, I don't. Well, no, to be honest, Di is very, very good at all this. And I try really hard. One year, we actually decided to buy all our Christmas presents in the January sale for the following year. And we decided to wrap them as well. But honestly, by the time we'd finished wrapping them in February, we lost heart. We just shoved them all in the back of a wardrobe. It was so boring, I couldn't bear it. But Di's good at it, aren't you?
I really enjoy Christmas shopping, actually.
Oh, well,
what
I
I
suppose.
don't enjoy is wrapping it Christmas Eve. So I'm trying this year to be really organised and doing it all before Christmas.
So you're planning well this year.
I'm planning well at the moment.
And what is it about sellotape that hides itself? There is something about sellotape that just hides and you can't find the stuff, can you?
It's never there when you need it.
I didn't realise you were around to look for it, Rob.
Thank you, Diane.
Are there some memories from your very first Christmas together as a married couple?
Oh, I don't think I can remember that far back, Tim, to be perfectly honest. In those days, we were living in a flat. So Christmas was always spent with family, and we'd go for lunch with my mum and dad and my sisters and their children. So actually, we used to have great fun, didn't we?
We did.
Really good fun. I mean, now our own kids have grown up with children of their own. My mum and dad have passed on, so those Christmases have really changed now. But we still have amazing fun, obviously, with the grandchildren now as well. But they were memorable Christmases, actually.
And they were fun, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they were silly. There was silliness and dressing up and games. You know, somebody once said, we're so busy giving our kids what we didn't have, we don't have time to give them what we did have. And often in those evenings, all the fancy toys and presents would be pushed to one side, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And we'd be playing... I know it sounds silly, like stick a tail on a donkey or something, but they were moments of helpless
Hey, don't
laughter.
laugh. I've just bought that for this year.
You are so up with things, Diane. But I'll tell you something we did quite quickly in the early years of our marriage. We took a little bit of Christmas, even then, for ourselves. I think sometimes you can get into a ritual where you have Sunday afternoon with your parents and we have this afternoon with their parents, and we have lunch with them, we have lunch with them. And you can almost get into a ritual that it's impossible to get out of later on. And I think sometimes you have to, sometimes as a young married couple, it's not always possible, and sometimes it might even seem a bit selfish, but stake a little bit of a claim, if you can, for your own time with your family.
I have said to my children from the moment they got married, whatever you do over Christmas, you do what you want to do. It's 2 days. And for me, in fairness, I do see them regularly, so I understand when people don't see their children or relatives regularly. But I do, and I said, you do what you wanted to do over Christmas. I would like to see you for an hour at some stage, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, or the day after. But I want them to be able to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Without the pressure of actually having to go to mum and dad's.
And you both talk about your children and your grandchildren. You've got 5 grandchildren.
Yeah.
So you've had Christmas, as you said, in the early days with your parents and with your family, then with your children, now with your grandchildren as well. Are there any memories that really stand out over those different kind of seasons of Christmas?
I think for me, if I'm honest, I'll go back years. We have somebody living with us, and he's been living with us for coming up to 40 years now. And I can remember him coming to stay one Christmas with my family. He was brought up in children's homes. I would say he was relatively homeless, really, at some stage. And he came, and my family bought him presents. And he cried. Because he didn't know what family was really all about. I think for me, to see a grown man sit at the table and cry because he didn't have that luxury all those years before was quite momentous for me, really.
Yeah. And what about Christmas over the years? Have you seen it change in society, the way families get together, the way they celebrate Christmas, or just the season itself?
Yes, lots of changes, really. I mean, everybody talks about, the sort of secular bit of Christmas where everybody's rushing to buy and, they can't get enough. And
I do think there's increasing pressure to have a good time over Christmas. Because of the work I do and Diane does, we know that many families, get into terrible trouble after Christmas, in relationships, in marriages. And I think it's because there's so much pressure in those 2 days to have a perfect time, to give the perfect present, to have a great time. Sometimes families come together, not seeing each other for a while, don't even like each other. And there is tremendous pressure, I think. And we have always been blessed by families who have looked outside their own family and perhaps occasionally invited a lonely person in or an elderly person and so. And as you watch those families reach out, I think you see a different kind of Christmas. It's not always possible, but I do think there's a pressure for it to be perfect, and of course it can't be.
And you both talked about just how there's a lot of pressure now at Christmas time for the perfect Christmas. There are going to be some couples listening and maybe they're not looking forward to Christmas. It might be for financial reasons, or maybe there's been a loss in the family this year. Would you have any encouragement or any words that you would say to them as they head up towards Christmas Day?
Do you know, I think the thing is that these are special days, but they are days in our lives. And if we're going through tough times, if we've just lost somebody, perhaps especially if we've lost somebody, or we're in financial trouble, these 2 days are not going to make that right. And sometimes there's almost a pressure to feel good on those days, and sometimes you have to put on a bit of face for the kids and so forth. But certainly we have found couples in financial trouble who've borrowed a great deal of money on top of their debt to have a good Christmas, and that's never a good idea. And I think we've made that mistake in the past, certainly when the kids were young. And I know it's not easy, you've got the kids and family pressure, but sometimes just to take a moment to step back a bit. It's a time where I think we can reflect. And if life is hard, it's not going to be made right on December the 25th, but it might be that over that time we might grasp something of the specialness, even the magic of Christmas.
I think as well, Rob mentioned it earlier, if you do know somebody that's lonely over Christmas, include them. I lost my mum just before Christmas about 4 years ago, and it's a tough season. It is a tough season for lots of reasons. But Rob's right, it's these 2 days that we expect everything to be just so wonderful and romantic, and as we see in the adverts on the television. But it's 2 days,
Do you know, a friend of mine who's a psychologist said most people believe a future event will make them happy. If I win the lottery, if we get married, if we move house, if we have a great Christmas, or something like that. And he said, Rob, most people who are really happy, even if life's a bit tough, manage to grasp it now. And I think over Christmas, we're always looking forward, get the lunch on and watch this on telly, or we'll open the presents. And sometimes you miss those moments. You miss a moment with a mum or a dad, perhaps who's elderly. You miss a moment with a child, a moment of wonder, some kindness from somebody else. Somehow to grasp those moments, I think, is very, very important.
And then we go into January, and often we talk about the January blues. The Christmas decorations come down, the house feels bare, there's bills to be paid, it's dark outside. So for couples as we head through Christmas into the new year, any advice for them for that month of January when it seems a little bit dry and bare?
It is, you're right, it does seem bare, doesn't it? You take the Christmas decorations down, they take ages to put up and they take even longer to take down, and then you've got to clean after it. But it is, you are right, January has that oof feel, doesn't it? I think if you can perhaps even save some of your festivities of meeting with other people till after Christmas, because you've got a busy run up to Christmas. I think, meeting up with people after that, or making sure you've got something lined up to do after Christmas.
Something to look forward to.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we've been married 40 years, and you can't be married that long without going through tough times. Times when you don't feel in love, times when you think it's all over. We've certainly been through that. And I can remember at those times, you often looked to Christmas as being, the thing that would sort it out, and it rarely does. And I'm not a big believer in New Year's resolutions, but I think sometimes you can look to the new year for at least an effort at a new beginning. We are going to try in the new year to spend a bit more time with each other. We're going to try to have a night a week where we talk to each other. We're going to try to even be kinder to each other, and we're going to try again. And I think the new year can be a time, not just of resolutions, but of new beginnings. None of us can do anything about yesterday or the past, but it can be a time of new beginnings, even in relationships. And I think if we approach it in that way, then it can not close down possibilities, but open them up.
Well, Rob and Di, thank you so much for sharing some of your Christmas memories with us, and also some of your wisdom, which I know will help many couples as they listen over the Christmas period.
No, it's been great to be with you. Wish everybody a really, really happy Christmas.
And if I had a good voice, I'd sing it.
Well, that's all for this episode. It just leaves me to say a great big thank you to Rob and Di for joining us, and thanks to all our listeners for tuning in. We wish you a very Merry Christmas and a peaceful New Year, and we'll see you in 2015 for more of the Marriage Challenge podcast.
You have been listening to the Marriage Challenge podcast. For further information about our courses, resources and events, please visit us at careforthefamily.org.uk.